And about lucrativity, Nigeria is one of the best places to own properties. And I'll say this, right? As a serial investor that I am, I have invested in the UK, I have invested in the UAE, I've invested in Nigeria. And I think that when it's time to convert solid assets to liquid, if you put a property on sale in Nigeria and the UAE and the UK at the same time, and then the one in Nigeria will sell faster. And I know this because I've done it quite a lot of time.
I think it's a bold claim. Obviously, that sort of statement that he made needs to be fact checked. But
exactly. So, and with the Dubai market, you really don't have a problem with liquidity, which is one of the great challenges when it comes to real estate investment, right? The hotel sort of concepts give you that opportunity of cashing out when you want to. So if you need to liquidate and you want your sort of capital, you are able to do that with the Dubai market. You tend to have your returns come back to you in FX, which is one major, drawback with the Nigerian market. I'm sorry to say. I mean, all markets have their advantages as well as their disadvantages.
Yeah, by FX, you mean in dollars?
Yes, in dollars specifically. Yeah. Prime areas in Ghana, you actually have your returns in dollars. The time between your entry to the completion of the project, you sort of, if you have strategically purchased a property, you should be looking at about 50% appreciation. And that's totally different from the normal regular annual appreciation rate, which is averagely around 5% per annum.
Okay.
And this is on the dollar. So that's the fantastic thing about it. This is always on the dollar.
Like for me, when I made my first investment in the US, I didn't make as much as 40% deposit, but the mortgage that I got, the interest rate was a little bit higher than what like a local resident would be in the US. So there's a little bit toss, give and take that kind of goes into it if you're a foreign investor in the US, but it's definitely possible in comparison to Canada, where we have to get really, really creative.
Now with the hotel companies, with those ones, you don't have a problem. They buy off you if there's a bubble, they buy, and that's where most investors miss it. Okay, so they see a bubble and they're fine with it because they have the feeling that their assets or their investment is doing great. But then when there is, downtimes or when there is just exactly, you see that, they start panicking and they just want to let go of, and at that point they tend to lose. I believe to really understand where I'm coming from. Yeah, so but yeah, that's it with the.
Which I understand where you're coming from. I feel like so far everything she said about the Ghanaian market, everything you said about the Canadian market, and also now the Dubai market, just kind of makes you see how far we still have to go in the Nigerian market.
The moment you mention private lenders, you already know what kind of interest rate.
Yeah. So the banks in Dubai, I know, right? The banks in Dubai are not that flexible. They're not that flexible with financing practice. So it would just, Dubai, it's a very flamboyant country. They buy instantly. You can have one person buy 3 properties and pay in cash.
Right.
So the mortgage is not very popular. The mortgage system isn't very popular in the Dubai market. But
so you can't raise your kids there.
No, my personally, no, I won't do that. I'm sorry to say, I can holiday all I want for.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the show. This is Uche Philippe Emoji, and on this episode of the show, wanted to do something different. In the past, I've brought my friend and partner in this industry, Tunde. We've talked about investments in the US, Canada versus investments in Nigeria. And in that video, so many people had lots of takes on whether you should invest, first of all, in the US, if you're in Nigerian diaspora, or invest in Nigeria. And sequel to that, I started to realize that maybe I was a bit biased about the Nigerian market. So I want in my content to also be giving more of a wider perspective so that you can see the data about how, and actually somebody did comment about how other markets are performing and how we can put them side by side to the Nigerian market, especially places that Nigerians are in, West African markets, European markets, and obviously the Americas. And so I have two special, wonderful guests here today with me. Welcome, Tunde and Mary. And before they go introducing themselves, actually, before Mary goes introducing herself, because Tunde has been here
I
so
was
many
just about
times.
to say, am I special guest or
And
resident? A resident guest at this
you
point.
guys really like him. You guys, showing our video lots of love. Thank you guys so very much. But Mary is the new face. Obviously, you're gonna be seeing more and more of her. In the video I did recently, and Tunde told me I'm a savage for that. On that video, I talked about successful women in the industry, and it's very, very important. And I'm not going to divert. Maybe I'll refer to that later. But this is Mary. She is a real estate consultant, professional, and a master's holder in real estate finance. You guys, she went to school for this, and let me even just let it out of the bag. That degree ain't cheap. So first of all, I want to establish that this business is not playing. We are not playing here. And I just want her to just tell us more about herself and tell us what she has been into, some of the countries that she has been servicing. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Uche. Hi, guys. Thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here. Okay, so I would just say a little bit more to what you have said already about me. As I said, my name is Mary Collins, and postgraduate student of real estate finance, to be completed by the end of the year. Sure. And I'm also a professional real estate consultant. I have a startup business in real estate consultancy, international real estate consultancy, focusing on value-based markets, so to say. So markets that provides value to investors, and this cuts across Africa, Europe, and the Dubai market as well. So specifically UK, Ghana, and Dubai markets. Yes, so that's it. Thank you.
All right. So, and the next person is the introduction, investor and startup founder of Nigerian housing market, which was inspired by me. If he would agree to, this is Tunde Akikbelu, and just say a few words.
Yeah, well, for those who haven't met me, I like to think that I'm a super resident of Uche's channel at this point. But, but hello everyone. As Uche mentioned, my name is Tunde, and I like to say that I am an investor in real estate, obviously in different markets, including Canada, US, and Nigeria. I will say that I just recently I've taken a specific interest in the Nigerian market and just understanding more and more about the market, the different challenges and the different opportunities that exist within the market. And the partnership with Uche so far has been very, very beneficial. And definitely love getting on this channel and actually reading you guys' comments as well on some of the topics that we've definitely discussed on the channel, because a lot of people have really interesting insights and perspective that I think collectively as a community we can definitely drive some significant changes across the board. So very, very excited to be here, and obviously Mary, also welcome to the channel.
Yeah. And so you said something. Let's just bounce off of that. The opportunities, and I want Mary to start with what are the opportunities specifically in the markets that you have been? If you can, just mention the specific markets, the Ghana market, the Dubai market, and also the UK market. In an overview, what are the major opportunities in those markets? And if you can also give us a bit of numbers, so that we can actually just gauge the opportunity, the size of the market.
Okay, so I just like to begin with the Ghana market. And so with Ghana markets, basically it is the forex return with the prime area investing. So with Ghana, most investors would like to invest in sort of like the upscale neighborhoods. And with those markets, you tend to have your returns come back to you in FX, which is one major, drawback with the Nigerian market. I'm sorry to say. I mean, all markets have their advantages as well as their disadvantages.
Yeah, by FX, you mean in dollars?
Yes, in dollars specifically.
Yeah.
So the official currency for the Ghana country, for Ghana as a country, is cedis, right?
Okay.
But then with the prime neighborhoods, that's like the upscale neighborhoods, likes of cantonments, Laboni, airport residential, the prime areas in Ghana, you actually have your returns in dollars. Okay, so even if you do not have the physical dollar, you would have an equivalent in the Ghana currency. So it's sort of capped on the dollar. Yeah, so that's like the major benefit. Besides that, so with investing, right, one very crucial thing is the business environment or the investment environment. And that's another advantage with the Ghana market. So Ghana is known for its peace. It's a very peaceful country, especially in Africa. And being in West Africa is the second largest English-speaking country. Okay, so they have that advantage. Politically, they're very stable. Economically, it's resilient. The country has done well for itself. The electricity is seen to be considerably stable as well. So when it comes to West Africa, they have an edge over Nigeria a little bit. And even when you have, when it comes to, that's what I just said, when it comes to electricity, it comes to the political environment, as well as economy environment as well, it does have a bit of stability. Okay, so it's wise for investors to try to diversify a little bit. So it's more like you're not putting all of your eggs in one basket. So if you do have investment in Nigeria for the purpose of, this is my home country, and of course I should definitely have a chunk of it for myself and for my generation, it's also wise of you to spread a little bit more to, still in Africa and West Africa most importantly, but then have something in another economy. So it's you just diversifying a bit more and sort of having to benefit from what the country has to offer. Now,
before you go forward, just to add to that, Ghana also has an extensive coastline. So Ghana also has some of the cities actually facing the Atlantic.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So all of those things, and there was a year where they had the
year of the return.
Exactly. So that year and beyond that, they've sort of encouraged Americans, especially African Americans, to come back home and identify with their culture as well as their origin. And with that, we've had like loads of African Americans come back to invest in Ghana just to feel that home, that kind of home feeling, and just be rest assured that they have their brothers and sisters that they can communicate with and just network with and just feel at home, basically, away from the city and from having to be all their life in America, to just have that peace, especially when they're back in Africa. And then the security situation again. So Ghana is pretty much safe, I would say. Ghana is a country where you can work out in the night and you're safe. All of those things directly or indirectly affects our investment, right? So Ghana has done well in that angle. And when it comes to property taxes as well, Ghana does very well with that. So there are really no property taxes in Ghana. And besides that, so that's another thing, FX, property taxes. And besides that, so they have a structure where you really don't need to be there to actively manage your property, but then you can just passively benefit. Okay, so you have like property management services, and most providers and developers have like their own property management company as part of the group. Okay, so they just sort of simplify everything for investors that way. If you find yourself in West Africa, in Ghana, and you just want to enjoy the African life, you have like free accommodation basically. They've also gone beyond to offer products like the UAE market. So that's this hotel sort of investment where you just purchase basically, and you have the whole apartment furnished for you, and you can just walk in with your suitcases, spend the night, depending on what arrangement you've made with the hotel. And they have like an international management company as well. So all of those arrangements, yes, does benefit investors in Ghana, in the Ghana market. And
I don't even know if I want to hear about UK or Dubai anymore. She's just
Now, this question is for both you and Tunde. Now, this question is for both you and Tunde. What is the barrier of entry for people? Because you did mention the year of return. I think that was 2019, and I read a bit about that, where they were encouraging people. But what is the barrier of entry for people that are not Ghanaian citizens? Because I did hear that it's kind of very easy. So what is it like if I want to purchase a property, I want to purchase land, house, and I'm not a citizen of Ghana? Like, what's that process like? And also, Tunde, you tell us what that process is like in Canada, so that like overseas investors basically.
Yeah, okay. So just right before that, I just wanted to add, as I was still speaking before we, diverted a bit, I just wanted to add that another benefit is the capital appreciation. So with the Ghana real estate system, especially the prime areas, they have developers sort of sell off-plan, properties to investors and give them the opportunity to pay flexibly and spread their payment over a period of time. Mainly the development period. I don't know if you guys also have experienced
that happens everywhere in the world, by the way.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah. So so then with the Ghana market, so I said the time between your entry to the completion of the project, you sort of, if you have strategically purchased a property, you should be looking at about 50% appreciation. And that's totally different from the normal regular annual appreciation rate, which is averagely around 5% per annum.
Okay.
And this is on the dollar. So that's the fantastic thing about it. This is always on the dollar. So you could purchase a property, for example, say around, I'm just going to use the minimum that I'm very used to, which is $85,000 per se for a studio. And upon completion, that studio would be around 120, sometimes 130 to 150,000 already. That would be the value. And even at that point, you could just resell. So some people buy and hold and then resell upon completion. Okay, so that's like another strategy. Now the barriers you spoke about, really, I think it does depend on how you have entered, basically. So I think with every market, there's a lot of due diligence to be done. Okay, so you need to make sure that you're working with the right people. With land purchasing, there are litigation issues everywhere. It would be wise of you to make sure that you are sort of, confirming with Lands Commission, who has the right, the right person.
Foreigner.
Exactly, as a foreigner.
Yeah. Do I have the legal right to just buy land without any other sort of documentation? Can I just buy land or buy a house without any sort of legal room? I think with Nigeria, I know you probably have to set up a company and as a foreigner maybe have a director that is Nigerian, something around that. Not fully explored it, but that's something that you can do. You have to do. It's not really just straightforward that you just bring in money and you just buy, except maybe you're buying in a free zone. But yeah, what happens in Ghana? Is it similar? That's similar.
Okay, so with Ghana, right? Just like I said earlier on, it depends on how you're buying. So if you're buying with a development company, you can just buy from there. You can buy service plots. These service plots. If you're buying from a landowner directly, you can also purchase. There are no restrictions, but the restrictions come when you need to finance the payment. So setting up a bank account in Ghana, of course, there are certain things that you need to have in place, including a resident permit and all of that. And most investors would find it easier and more convenient to sort of fund that or finance it through a local bank.
Okay.
I don't know if you understand me. Yeah, but if you're doing like an international transfer, there really are no restrictions whatsoever. Yeah, so that's it.
So today, thank you. So what are the barriers like for foreigners invest overseas funds in, to come into Canada? Is it that easy?
Not at all. It's them and not existent. Canada is a little different, and actually on the opposite side of pretty much everything you said, Uche and Mary. Like for Canada, I believe it was in 2022 or somewhere in the around COVID. What happened was the housing market really blew up, right? So a lot of people were buying properties were being sold over asking price. There was a lot of traction in the market. And I believe what we noticed also was there were a lot of foreign investors that were buying properties in Canada for the appreciation value of those properties. So what ended up happening as a result of that was we had a lot of properties that were being sold, but they weren't being occupied by people, right? And keep in mind that in Canada, there's already housing deficit that's going on and a very high demand for housing to be available. So the Canadian government actually stepped in as a result of that, and they actually made a law, again, either 2022 or 2023, somewhere in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah, I think I read about that.
Yeah, and they made a law that actually banned foreign investors from purchasing any residential properties in Canada. And that ban is still in place all the way up to 2027, right? Wow. So as it stands right now, there really isn't any traction for foreign investors to buy properties in Canada. That said, there are some exceptions around, if you're like a foreign student or international student or you're like a temporary worker in Canada, there are things like that you can still get exception for to buy properties in Canada. So what a lot of foreign investors would do, and this is part of creative strategies here to get property, creative strategies here to get properties, and these are usually information that you would get from talking directly with people, but I could share on the channel. So what a lot of people will do is, usually if you're like a foreign investor and you have the capital to buy properties in Canada, you probably have capital to send your kids to Canada to become an international degree, whatever the case may be. So what a lot of them will do is send their kids over, and then they will get properties under their kids' name, right? Right. So that's definitely one of the strategies. That's one of the strategies that they use. And there are other creative ways around it for sure. But from a law and legal standpoint, is that there is a ban that currently in the US, it is also the opposite of Canada, where it's honestly wild west and it's a free game for everyone. Free market. US is such a capitalist country, man, and you have the money and you're able to purchase. I will say that I know that if you're a foreign investor and you want to purchase in the US, you do have to make a little bit more deposit or down payment than local residents. It's somewhere between 40% thereabouts down payment on the property, and then you will be able to purchase the property. It's a little easier, I would say, though, if you're like a foreign investor from Canada or like a foreign investor from the UK, as an example, because there are actual companies that's specific to helping you get loans and mortgage as someone from Canada or someone from like the UK, where I don't think that exists if you're like a foreign investor from Nigeria or from Ghana. So the process might be a little bit more tedious if you are from those countries, but a little bit easier. Like for me, when I made my first investment in the US, I didn't make as much as 40% deposit, but the mortgage that I got, the interest rate was a little bit higher than what like a local resident will be in the US. So there's a little bit toss give and take that kind of goes into it if you're a foreign investor in the US, but it's definitely possible in comparison to Canada, where we have to get really, really creative if you're looking to purchase.
Yeah. Now let's stay on that a bit. There's something that you did say, and I mean, I've spoken about that with Mary as well. All of these laws, I know. Also, you compound this with the ones that it was earlier. So, all of those funds now, all of these investors, international investors, they are looking at other markets. We're not talking about these Dubai markets, Cuban markets, which Mary is very, very conversant with. So talk us more on that. Why investors are now are finding alternatives to the West and more of like these first world countries, and they're now going to the Caribbeans, they're going to the Saudi Arabia and the rest, the Middle East.
Okay, so I'm thinking that because Dubai, for example, is a very free country, and it has attracted loads of tourists in the past recent years. I won't really say recent because they've been around for quite a while now. They've been doing very well, for quite a while. There really are no restrictions in Dubai. They have the free zone, they have lots of, attractive things going on around there for investors, and investors are just, attracted to the country. It's a modern, sort of country. It has like its layout and everything working for it. Russia, for example, Russian investors, for example, are benefiting hugely from the Dubai market. And this also is because there really are no restrictions, just like we did say earlier on. So another thing again is diversification. So I have said several times that investors invest for different reasons in different markets. Dubai, for example, is like a holiday zone. Okay, so a lot of people find it like a rest place. You want to just take some time off, work and everything. Dubai is like the place for you. Not just Dubai, I mean, there are other places, but Dubai is like, one place that you want to go and rest and just, ease off and all of that. So yeah, with that one, lots of investors are investing for that purpose. I did mention tax, so tax, holiday, and tax. Tax.
It's also
holiday.
a free zone.
Yeah, free zone. Yeah, holiday. Just spreading their risks and return, sort of just making sure that they are able to release some of their investments, and then to places where returns come in differently, the risk is lower. Dubai, for example, has been doing well with the population growth in the past recent years, which is something that you want to look at when you are investing as well, because that sort of triggers demand, and once there's demand, you're very sure of your returns. Now there are some developers and providers in Dubai that offers payment plans of over 6 years. And yes, that is definitely over 70 months, which is very great for any investor. You may not want to go the mortgage route because of the interest rates, but then if you have to spread your payment over 70 months, I think it's a no-brainer. You want to do that because even your disposable income should be able to take care of that one. Okay, because if you're buying a one-bedroom apartment, for example, which does well for investment as well as, holiday apartments, you can spread your payment and just take a little, just a pinch out of your disposable income for the 70
initial.
months and more period. Exactly. So that's it. And really, with the Dubai market, you don't have to struggle to manage it. Most of their investments, if you know Dubai very well, they have like their management already structured. So they are the first market that really started with this whole hotel, property investment, property type of structure, and that has worked very well for them. Besides that, as well as the whole liquidity issue. So, and with the Dubai market, you really don't have a problem with liquidity, which is one of the great challenges when it comes to real estate investment, right? The hotel sort of concepts give you that opportunity of cashing out when you want to. So if you need to liquidate and you want your sort of capital, you are able to do that with the Dubai market. So the hotel gives you that offer of buying it from you selling it to them, and that sort of offers you the liquidity. It doesn't mean it restricts you. If you of course have like a buyer or you have your own separate arrangement, that's totally fine, but they give you that opportunity, and that to me is like easy liquidation. You can't just cash your money when you want to. I wouldn't really say that they're known for great schools, so I wouldn't really attribute any educational benefit to the Dubai market. But
so you can't raise your kids there.
Well, no, my personally, no, I won't do that. I'm sorry to say, I can holiday all I want, but when it comes to raising kids there and education, for me particularly, good living, of course, So we have most of the billionaire, like global billionaires residing in Dubai, and of course you know why. I have mentioned it like time and time again. The whole tax-free zone has promoted the country greatly. So yeah, pretty much with the Dubai market, that's it. So it's, the dirham is also not doing badly. Okay, there are no
official currency.
Yeah, that's the official currency. It's not doing, it's not doing badly. I'm happy that they have sort of retained their property and transactions, to be carried out with their local currency. But then the currency in itself is not doing badly. It's not doing badly. So yeah, so that's it.
Yeah. Okay, before I ask my question, let me just put more context. So as a free zone, there are several benefits. You can actually repatriate 100% of your funds. You don't have to actually have, as a corporation, you don't pay corporate taxes, you don't pay income taxes, and also VAT, duties on import and export, excise duties. There are a whole lot of benefits of a free zone. But then there's a claim that you made. So is that for the hotel investment? Is that a special arrangement where the developer is guaranteeing you liquidation of your asset? Because Nola Veritasi, is a very popular Nigerian developer. He said, obviously, I think it's a bold claim. He said Nigeria he's done business in every way, like lots of countries, but Nigeria is the easiest place that you can actually liquidate. Obviously, that sort of statement that he made needs, it needs to be fact checked. But
exactly.
Yeah, but yeah. So, I think that's what I wanted to ask. What is the arrangement there? Because I've heard you are the one that has experience of it probably is not that easy to actually liquidate. So for this hotel arrangement that you've mentioned, what is it like?
Okay, so it's not really the developer now, but the management company. So the developers' work is just to put up the structures and deliver like great quality, buildings and all of us. Now with the property management company, which are mainly professional bodies, professional hotel management companies. Most of them have like their records and all of that, doing well in the industry and have been existing for decades, basically. Now those ones have their client base already. So what they do is they tap into their client base as well as exceptional marketing and have the properties occupied. So in that way you have your returns, assured. Have your returns
yield.
Exactly. Most times you just guaranteed a particular percentage every year. Okay. Now coming to the liquidation. So they buy it off you. The management company buys it off you. They have most of the arrangement. The management companies have the right of first refusal. So if you want to sell it, you can just approach the management company first of all, let them know that you're trying to liquidate. I mean, if you have a very good agreement or arrangement with them, you can, liquidate that way. Otherwise, you could also offer it to the market or use your own medium to sell it off. Yeah, but the fact that they give you the opportunity, to sell it to them and buy it off you is the liquidation part that I'm just projecting.
They would buy it at the market value. So who is valuing it at that? Like, you get a professional valuer to do that?
Yes, so using the usual comparative method, they definitely have like similar properties in that area, and they have like an average rate. It may sort of differ a little bit from what you want to, or what the investor may want to sell it, which is why the investor have the right to agree to the proposal or to that arrangement or take it out. So it's usually not far away from the market. It's just the market price. It's like an average. Exactly. It's like an average. An average price within that location and the property type, as well as the amenities. So it's just like the average for that type of property, the market value.
Okay, so Tunde, go. You had a question.
Those are all really great insights. I actually have a couple of questions, maybe like 4 or 5. If I could, maybe like 4 or 5 if I could. I think one of the first things that is a question, but also a comment from my side as well, is just on the topic of like guarantees. We actually have something similar as well in Canada, just for like notes or insights is so we have developers that would offer you rental guarantees. So they can't guarantee you on like value or like appreciation on the property, but they can guarantee you like rental. So what they will do is, if you're obviously buying it in off plan or pre-construction, they would say once it's ready, we guarantee you rental for the next 2-3 years, however many years they have in their clause. And during those moments, you're pretty much getting paid once the property is ready. So you can now usually the rental guarantee they're giving you is not going to be at exactly market value for the property, but at least at minimum you're probably usually breaking even with your mortgage payments or a little bit above that. It's obviously a great incentive, and you benefit from that, but also the potential of obviously property appreciation over time. The question I had for you also was around, so we call it assignment clause is what we call it here, but to define that, what it means pretty much is if you get a property that's in off plan, right? Anytime between when you purchase the property and when the property is going to be ready, you as the purchaser can decide you want to sell the property at the current market value as of whenever you want to sell it, right? So I could purchase a property in 2020, it's going to be ready in 2023, but then 2024, I see there's a big bubble, the market value is high for properties, and I'll decide that I want to sell my property as of that time. That's possible, with some developers. In Canada, you have to make sure, obviously, that it's part of your contract that you're able to do that. Is that something that's possible in Dubai as well, or what does that look like?
Yes. So if you are buying from development companies, yes, of course, within the period, you can decide to let go of the property if you perceive, there's going to be a bubble or there is a bubble and you feel comfortable just, cashing out at that particular time. You can do that. With most development companies, you would have to do it through agents. Okay, so with most, because when it goes back to the development companies, you definitely may lose, some of your monies, which is not what investors want, or it's not what I would advise, any investor. So that way, you definitely should look at, using agents and all of that. And even if you have to pay them for their services, it wouldn't be that much, because of course, the development companies would have to retain a particular percentage, just to sort of, charge for the time for which they have lost in the transaction, basically, because you definitely came in, purchased, and within the development period you now want to let go. It means that they then have to get their clients and sort of marketing section or a team to dispose this asset for you. But if you're doing it independently or with a private agent, I think that works well, because in that way you could even make a lot more than having to lose out of your profit, basically. So if you have within the period made about 20% and then the company wants to take 15 or take 25, it means you've lost 5 of your capital and haven't really made anything. That's a development company. But if you're using an agent, it means that you make that 20-25%, and then you probably lose 1 or 2% as service charge to the agents. I don't know if I'm communicating. I don't know if it makes sense to you.
Yeah.
So it's just strategy for
Basically,
you.
there are no restrictions. I think that's what.
No. There really are no restrictions. There really are no restrictions. You can, yeah, but then it's just wise that you use a private agent, which is why, you maintain a very good relationship with your advisor or consultant or agent, and then they just easily dispose it for you when you want to. Now, with the hotel companies, with those ones, you don't have a problem. They buy off you if there's a bubble, they buy, and that's where most investors miss it. Okay, so they see a bubble and they're fine with it because they have the feeling that their assets or their investment is doing great. But then when there is, downtimes, or when there is you just exactly, you see that, they start panicking and they just want to let go of, and at that point they tend to lose. I believe today you understand where I'm coming from. Yeah, so but yeah, that's it with the
Which I understand where you're coming from.
right, coming from, yeah. So with the hotel properties in Dubai, of course, those ones are like very easy to go. They are, very liquid properties. So the company just buys it off you, and that's why with every investment that you make, you need to make sure that you're going through the agreement and contract very well. If you do not understand, you let someone who is very familiar with it or with the environment go through it with you. And yes, once there are no restrictions, of course, or no, what clauses that you should raise your brow, then you're good and fine.
Yeah, those are very, very, very meaningful insights. Just to give a quick Canadian perspective on that, is with assignment clause here, which is again giving you as the purchaser the opportunity or the right to sell your property. Oftentimes it depends on where we are in the market. Usually, if there is some kind of like downtime, or like the market is not really on the upwards trajectory or trend, developers are usually very flexible in negotiating the terms for your assignment clause. Yeah. So what I mean is, usually they would ask that if you're going to sell the property on an assignment clause, that they take a percentage of whatever you're selling it for, or you're going to give them a flat fee of like $10,000 or $15,000, whatever the case may be, in addition to whatever you're paying the realtor. They usually do that when, again, the market is hot and they know that they don't have to debate with you on whether or not they're going to give you a assignment clause, because they have multiple options. So if you're selling at a time where the market is not hot, then you can negotiate the terms of that assignment clause and be like, listen,
exactly,
I don't want to have to 10K or 15K, whenever I list the property. So I just wanted to a little perspective there from a Canadian lens. You did mention the opportunity to have a payment plan on the property without having to take interest rate. One thing that I've seen with Nigerian market more specifically is there is the outright price and then there is the payment plan price. So usually outright price could be like 100,000 and payment plan price could be like 150,000. Is that the same in Dubai, do you think, or is the same price for everyone We're just giving you the opportunity to have a payment plan.
Yeah, so with this one, it depends on the developer. Okay, so it's a competitive market, and most development companies come up with this sort of strategies to sort of entice investors. There are development companies, of course, that gives you this opportunity to spread your payment, and surprisingly, you're maintaining the one of the actual price of the property.
Interesting.
Surprisingly.
Wow, for
Now,
4 years.
in that instance, yeah. Now, in that instance, right, if you're paying instantly, so now with those, with the option of paying instantly or paying the full price, you have an opportunity to negotiate. Whereas with having to spread your payment over a 6-year period, you don't have that opportunity.
Gotcha.
Okay, so that's where it looks like there is an interest in it, but there really is no interest in it. Okay, so the property, for example, is $300,000, and I'm making a one-off payment. I'm paying in full. I definitely have an opportunity to beat it down towards about 270, depending on my, skills. And then someone who exactly, and then someone who is spreading the payment over a 6-year period does not have that opportunity, unfortunately. Now, there are some companies that would then increase that price a bit for increase it for about 2%. They add 2% on the actual price of the property and let you spread it over. But then there's never been a company that I have worked with or interacted with that has increased the value of the property beyond 2-3%. It's not outrageous. So it's minimal.
And
yeah,
Uche,
so it's minimal. And that's really the power of competition, to be honest. Yeah, so that's it. Yeah. Especially with the new developers. Yeah, especially the new developers. And when I say new developers, they're like new developers in the market, in the Dubai market, not new development companies. So they've been existing in other countries in markets, and they're just coming into the Dubai market, and they're strategizing and trying to make their own, properties attractive, to investors. Yeah. So basically, that
makes sense. And sorry, before I get to my next question, Uche, are you noticing the same in Nigeria as well, if that exists? Because maybe I'm just not seeing it, but every time I see a payment plan, the prices are always higher than the house price.
I feel like so far everything she said about the Ghanaian market, everything you said about the Canadian market, and also now the Dubai market, just kind of makes you see how far we still have to go in the Nigerian market. But I think the basic thing is the strength of our currency, honestly, and as she said, mentioned that the currency has actually been very stable and has been doing well against the dollar for quite a number of years. And Dubai, the oil country, so they have so much funds and like a very, very strong economy. But as a developer, you can't try it in Nigeria, because even 1 year you're going to make a loss, because in one year inflation has gone probably up to 40-60%, and you're not even going to be able to complete the
33%.
You're going to make, so you can't even try it. Like, so developers are probably doing maybe 18%. 12-18% for payment plans in a year, and if you probably want to take a loan, it will be maybe 23 or 24% if you wanted to take a loan for a real estate. And obviously that the CBN recently increased their rate, so that's like you can't do that in Nigeria. The developer would charge you a rate for extending it more than 3 months, so you can only pay whatever it is, and you barely negotiate down as well. Even when you're paying outright, that outright price is if you're making the payment within 1 to 3 months in most cases.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's interesting. And just very quickly, that was actually going to be my next question for Mary as well on the topic of rates and interest rates. So, are there mortgage solutions in? Actually, I want to know for both Ghana and Dubai. For anyone that's looking to buy maybe something that's already that's resale and ready in the market, but I want to put it on the mortgage. What does that look like, and kind of what are the going interest rates in those markets right now?
Okay, with the Ghana market, so that's the challenge, right, with both markets. With those two markets, I really don't advise investors to go with mortgage. I really don't advise them because the rates are quite high, which is why the option to spread your payment becomes the best option, if you ask me, because it works like a mortgage. I mean, even if you have a mortgage on your property, you sort of want to quickly pay off to reduce your debts and your burden. With the Ghana market, it can be depending on the bank and your credit history, as well as the risks of the investor or the client. It could go to about 18%, I'm afraid. And somewhere around 12, 18, and it also depends on the bank. It's not so great. It doesn't do as well as the developed economies like the UK, the US. I'm not very sure about Canada, but they have great interest rates, to say, not these days, but it used to be very good. Yes, those markets I really don't advise that. If you have the option to spread your payment, it would just be why for you to do that, to just even negotiate to pay beyond 2 years for the Ghana market, for example. You can definitely stretch it a bit. Okay, so you can stretch it a bit, and in that way you're able to flexibly pay it off. So I wouldn't really advise that. In the Dubai market, so it also depends. With the Dubai market, you have the option of private lenders. The development companies would facilitate that. The rates are high. The banks have their restriction in the Dubai market, especially financing properties in Dubai.
The moment you mention private lenders, you already know what kind of interest rates.
Yeah. So the banks in Dubai, I know, right? The banks in Dubai are not that flexible. They're not that flexible with financing properties. So it would just, Dubai, it's a very flamboyant country. They buy instantly. You can have one person buy 3 properties and pay in cash.
Right.
So the mortgage is not very popular. The mortgage system isn't very popular, I'm afraid. So that's
okay. So before he asks, to confirm, so you said in Ghana they also give you that long 2 years. So is that an interest, or that also is, since it's on the dollar market, that's actually pegged at the actual cost of the
actual cost, the actual price of the property? So with Ghana, what's more popular or most popular is the 2 years on average spread. So that's like 24 months, and that's the usual development period for properties in Ghana. The advantage with that one is that most development companies sort of default a bit. So that just gives anyone who is spreading payment an opportunity to extend a bit, because if the property isn't delivered or completed, you still have the right to draw your payment or stretch it a bit. So if they're defaulting for 3 months or 6 months, you have that privilege or that opportunity to spread your payment, but there are no interest on it. It's still the cost. And that is the same arrangement in the Ghana market. It gives anyone who is paying instantly, making a full payment in cash, to negotiate his way through depending on his skills.
And just to add to that before Tunde talk, I think it also goes down to the currency, because Alaro City, which is also a free zone, the sales that I have made there for my clients have even gotten up to 30 months for a client. There's no interest because it is a dollar market. So if the developer is sure that this currency is a stable currency, dollar the strongest,
Yeah.
probably one of the strongest economies of the US, they can actually spread it for however long without asking you to pay anything extra, and then you would now need finance. And are you seeing this more with the houses or with the land?
Okay, so with the actual houses, with the
Oh,
actual
really?
houses, yeah, with the actual houses, because those ones definitely have to be built and developed, and yeah, within the period you can stretch and
Oh,
still
okay.
pay the actual cost of the property. Now with the lands, it does depend again on the seller. Depends on where you're buying and what arrangement you have. Um, I think that everything boils down to negotiation. If you are great with that, you can definitely do like a down payment and then, sort of have like instrumental payments going on, depending on your arrangement and agreement with who you're buying the property from.
Interesting.
Okay.
This might actually be a question for both you and Uche. And I think as you're talking more about the market, both in Dubai and Ghana, if I was to take something away from that conversation, to me, it sounds to me that the market is more suited for one, either if you're buying off-plan properties and you just want to have like a payment plan, or if you have your cash out right and you're able to get something immediately, right? What I'm curious about is, on average, how often do you guys, and this might, I'm hoping this ignites an idea in someone out there that's looking for opportunities to transform things and really revolutionize industries. How often do you guys come across people that's looking for mortgage solutions for properties that in the market right now? So what I mean is, usually if you have a property that's in the market, it's probably a private seller, right? It's someone who already has the property and they're looking for their cash. Usually, if you don't have that cash, a mortgage solution obviously can come in place and make that payment for you. But with this kind of interest rates, with this kind of restrictions that's in place, how often do you guys come across people that's looking for, that kind of solution that we have here in, let's say, in the US or Canada, as far as mortgage solutions is concerned? And how disappointed do they leave when they find out that there's no there's no real solution that's comparable to this markets that we have in North America?
Okay, yeah, so quite often, yeah, and that's actually one very huge gap within the real estate industry. That's the issue of financing. Some development companies have been very well creative to trying to set up in-house, financing for the client in such a way that some of them may, have that agreement with the client to rent out these properties and then have the rental income finance the outstanding on the property, which is great. Some other investors would find a way of financing the properties with mortgage from their resident countries or from their resident countries. So for example, if I were to be resident in the US or in the UK, the rates are great or better than Africa and this Ghana and the Dubai market. I can work out my financing in such a way that I get the money from here and I finance that project in Ghana. The good thing about real estate is that it's bricks and mortar, and in that way, it's an immovable asset. So it does work for some financiers like that. I mean, once they can have the property documents and all of those information, as well as have the credible image of the borrower, they can finance the property. So
Awesome.
that's the way it works out. But it's unfortunate, and I believe that something will be done about it, especially with the Ghana market.
Yeah.
Especially with the Ghana market, yeah.
Uche, speak for Nigeria. Oh yeah, let's get it.
Yeah. So first of all, like I want to ask you a question first before that. Do you think that that type of cross-border lending is something that is actually an opportunity for people, for those financiers, and for those companies that are doing the borrowing? Do you see as an opportunity that is going to come like in the next 2-3 years or 5 years? Do you actually think that it's something that people should actually invest money in, saying that is it a wise thing for investors to do, number one? And also, should investors that also want to be borrowers look, is it going to be too risky for them to be doing that sort of cross-border lending for actual properties? Or the third one, is there an arrangement where people like insure or take a mortgage for another property and then insure it on probably another property they have abroad, and then take that and pay the mortgage for the property they have abroad and repatriate maybe the difference or whatever to the one in the in another country?
Okay, so I would say that if it's a wise thing to do, it does depend on the rate at which you're getting financed. I see the financing landscape to be a bit flexible at the moment, and the future of it looks like it's going to be mixed. I see the banks returning to traditional lending. It may really not be mortgage focused as such anymore, because lots of lenders are getting into the space and they're taking advantage of the gap and the rules and regulation and all of that with the banks to tap into that market, which is great. I mean, it creates that mix in the market and that sort of flexibility. So a bank, for example, who is still looking at that market would relax a bit of its rules and all of those to be able to benefit, because now you have competition, which I mean is great for the rates, because then it affects the rate. Once there's competition, we're then looking at the rates going down a little bit. So whether or not it's great depends on who is financing you. With most private lenders, and it's no surprise, we all know that with the private lenders the rates are a bit high. So if you definitely have like a favorable rate and a good relationship with a bank in your resident country, I think you can do that. Because if I were to be an investor and I have a rate going on 1-2% where I'm residing, looking to purchase a property in Nigeria, in Ghana, and I can definitely raise capital from here, I would do that. Okay, because I'm residing here, I have my employment here, and I should be able to sort of pay back, okay, without issues. So that works depending on the rate. If the rate is not great for you, if the regulation does not allow you, then that's where the problem comes in. Now, you mentioned about refinancing. So that's another opportunity that I think that investors can leverage. So if you have properties locally where you're resident, and of course the value must have gone up if they're properties that you have purchased like from the past, all you need to do is get the banks or get the property refinanced, raise that equity and invest it where you want to invest. It's just you spreading wealth. It's just you smartly leveraging investments and reinvesting in other assets and other markets. It does work well with that as well. I think that's also something that some investors are not very much aware of, that if a property you purchase for $150,000 or pounds has grown to the value of about 350, you definitely can raise equity, refinance, and take the capital and reinvest in a local property or internationally.
Yeah,
So,
and just to give a little more perspective on that aspect of it. So there are different solutions that you could potentially take advantage of as a foreign investor when it comes to raising capital. Usually, at least here in Canada, most banks don't have a native solution for like mortgage in a foreign country. But to what Mary said, if you have an existing property, one, you can refinance it. You can also do what we call a home equity line of credit. So what ELOC, or ELOC for abbreviation, what ELOC is ultimately refinancing the property, but you have an open loan that when you get out the equity from the property, and as you continue to pay off the property, more funds become available for you to use, right?
Exactly.
So you don't have to always refinance it. You refinance it one, take a big capital out of the property, and you still continue to pay off the mortgage, so then you have more funds that's available for you to use. So that's ELOC. And there's another version of that. If you don't have a property, that's just dependent on your credit history and you just having good credit, which is just a traditional line of credit, which you can get upwards of 50K, 100K, again, depending on your credit history, where you don't even have to have a mortgage or an existing property for you to be able to take advantage of that solution. And oftentimes what happens is, because of the market, right, you might start with a bank right now that give you like a 7% interest rate on your line of credit. But as you continue to kind of pay that off, what you would say is you start getting offers from different other banks saying, hey, if you transfer your line of credit over here, we're going to give you 0.00% for the next 24 months, right?
Okay.
And they might charge you like a 2% transfer rate to bring your funds over. But again, these are things that, if you're creative enough and you have a clear financial plan, you can take advantage of a lot of these different solutions.
Wow, I think people should be paying for this knowledge, because this is this is real estate finance and creative financing. I think like probably we should even dedicate a day to like talking about this, because I'm even like learning and taking notes. There are lots of ways to finance it, especially for Nigerians in the diaspora and people that may not even know of such things. If you don't ask or if you don't actually research to do this. And obviously, like I said, thank you so much, Tunde and Mary. We're going to be working more and more with them. So anything you want to find out about, more about what they have said, you can contact me. And we're also going to be working in more and more countries and bringing you more and more deals from these countries, and some things that you can actually take more and more advantage. Hopefully, just like you've been seeing more of Tunde, you'll be seeing more of Mary on this channel. Thank you so much, guys, for we just actually had to just cut it so that it's not too long. So this will probably be a part 1, maybe there'll be a part 2, part 3, part 4, because there are so many things. Real estate is so vast, and there are so many opportunities to create wealth and also to leverage on wealth, which we actually ended up, it starts with one property, and with that, there's just no limit to how far you can go. So we're going to call it a wrap here today. Thank you so very much. This is the Ownahome TV show here. Ownahome, we believe owning a home, owning a property should not make you don't sleep. So we're committed to giving the very best property recommendations and insider real estate is. Thank you, Tunde. Thank you, Mary. I'll see you at the very next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Kindly like, share, subscribe, drop your comments below.